Roadbed and terraforming coming up on this episode of the Seaboard Central. Welcome back to the Seaboard Central, everyone. As you can see here, I've removed all the track to make way for the next step in the process. So after removing the track, the next thing I want to do is draw the center lines for where all the track will be. So I just taking a Sharpie and drawing the center lines. Also, I want to outline wherever some concrete pads will be. So you can see I've got this drawn out to where there'll be a concrete pad here underneath these buildings. And also you can see I have a concrete pad laid out in this area. Something else I've decided to do is have a hill here with an old homestead house on it. And what I'm going to do is draw the edge of where the embankment will start. And you'll see a tree line that will be back in here. That will separate the facility from this house. So with all the structures out of the way and my center lines drawn, now I'm going to start cutting this Midwest cork sheets down the center lines, match up with the center lines. And this will help me when I go to install the track later on. Next thing I do is attach the cork with this wood glue. Now, using wood glue will keep this cork permanently down, so if you ever try to get this stuff back up, you're going to have a really hard time of it. But it does a great job of keeping it in place and secure. All right, with all the cork in place now, the next thing I did was add some terrain by putting the pink insulation foam down. And I just simply used this kind of X-Acto knife to carve out the foam, and I glued it in place with that same wood glue that I used to glue the cork roadbed down with. So we'll let this dry a little bit and then we'll proceed to the next step. Next step I've added is some paper mache. You can also use a sculpting mold for this step, which will probably be better than paper mache, but this is what I found at Hobby Lobby. So I took some of my old rock castings that I had from the old layout that I managed to save to incorporate in the side of this hill. What I'm doing here is just making sure that the hill is not flat. It's got some contours to it. And if you have to, just use your finger to work this paper mache in between the rocks. Here I've added some rocks to this side. I'm just going to incorporate them into the side of the bank. And what I want to do is think about what the water would do if it rained. How would it get down the side of the bank to the bottom? So I'm going to create places for the water to naturally flow down in between these rocks. right here. Here's a natural place where the water would find itself down in the ditch alongside the tracks. And when this stuff dries, we'll come back and smooth it out with another product before we'll paint it. You see, we just have land. It's not flat, except where the house is going to be right here. But the rest of this, I'm looking for a natural flow. Blend that rock in, just like that. All right, while we're waiting on that paper mache to dry, we can proceed to the next step. And this is some patch and paint that I just picked up from Home Depot. And I'm gonna just create the contours of the road bed with this. Just use a little sculpting tool. I'm just going to go along the outer edges of the road bed. All the way around, kind of just create that profile so we can have some water run off into the ditch right there. Something like this. Really helps having a little sculpting tool like this I just picked up from Hobby Lobby. Comes in handy to get in little tight places like underneath that rock. That's how you do that. Pretty simple. One of the last things I've done is use the patch and paint and filled in all the gaps that was in between the road bed and everywhere else. This is on the module. So that's it for this episode. Tune in next episode and I'll show you how I paint everything. So until next time, thanks again for watching the Seaboard Century.